All right, everybody. How's everybody doing tonight? My name is Dominic Bizzurdo, and I'm going to be leading us through our Client Support 101 call today. I'm an Integrated Regional Director with Optavia. And first off, I just want to thank everybody for being on today. I hope this provides value to you and to your clients. We decided that we're going to have these calls every Monday night right after the leadership call. And just basically to give you another tool for you to help better assist your clients, help them on their journeys, and give them the support that they need to become part of our community and to hit all of their health goals. So we're going to be doing this series. I'm going to be leading it. There's going to be guest speakers at times. Jamil will probably pop in from time to time as well. But if there's anything that you guys do want to learn while you're doing this, please feel free. Message me or Jamil afterwards or during if you want to put it in the comments so questions come up. So we can train to them, okay? There's also going to be a time at the end of this training for you to ask questions as well. So just hang tight and we're gonna get going. So last week, a little bit of recap from last week. What did they discuss? Sarah Grace and Jamil Frazier, they did an amazing job in getting us through it. How to start a client off strong. They went over the process in a lot of detail. So if you missed last week's call, feel free, take some notes off of this screen, take some pictures of this screen, do what you need to do because it was very in-depth and a lot of detail. And I'm sure the playback is available too in 0 to 5, or we can get them for you and make sure that it's posted. If not, along with this one will be posted as well. So how to start a client off strong. They went over the process. It started with ordering the kits, with the books, because Sarah made it clear that, hey, without the books, it's more of a diet. So this is a lifestyle change, a community that we want to integrate them into, and we want to provide them as much support as possible. And this is one way of getting it kicked off and started right. Setting up those messenger groups with your support team, very key. If you're going to be doing it through Facebook or through a text message, that is very, very strong way to stay connected so they know that there's a lot more layers of support, okay? They went over sending them the welcome email. If you do not have a copy of that for a new client, I encourage you to reach out to your mentorship and business coaches because there should be one in Simple Systems, but they should be able to guide you and teach you how to put that onto your phone so it's very simple that you can always just pull it up and send it off when you need it. The Facebook groups, they've mentioned those, the night before calls and all the calls that they have each night up until getting them into fat burn. They went into those, how long they should be, questions. They went into a lot of detail on those, what kind of questions we should be asking, how often we should be connecting, and how often we should connect even after the first week. So it was a very in detail call and it was helped a lot. If you can get your client into a strong fat burn, they're going to have a lot of success. So just think back to when you were a new client. Think back when you were excited, you were losing the weight, you were going through. Think back to how you felt. That's the feeling that we're trying to capture and get to them. It's capturing it in a bottle and just showing them the offering and providing them with the gift because we all fell in love with it. So let's not be shy with it. So a lot of great tools that were given off last week. So today's call, what are we going to cover? Some of the topics that we're going to cover today. Structural coaching. So a lot of questions were asked, how I can structurally coach my client through the program, through their first month. And while I'm doing it, how can I build a relationship with them at the same time? How am I supposed to build a deep relationship, rapport, do all of this while ensuring that they're doing the program right in 5 to 7 minutes? So we're going to talk a little bit about what structural coaching is and why we use it. We're also going to cover some tools that you should be using that you can incorporate to it that will provide that structure that's needed. So you don't have to be looking all over the place for these answers. They're going to be right in front of you. A lot of times they're going to be right in front of you in your Optavia binder, your health coaching binder. So they're going to be right there for you, right at your fingertips. A lot of these will be there just so we can easily go to them. So we're going to cover the health assessment. We're going to cover the habits of health system, some structural tension charts, and the community. We're going to go into that as well. And what you're all probably wanting to know is, how do we build relationships through this support? How can we connect better to serve, build those friendships that you hear about, these people when they talk about their life being changed by their health coach? How do I do that? How do I do that in a couple minutes? How am I supposed to do that with a complete stranger I don't even know? And how can I get a community of support around them, so to make it easier for them and to build the referral base coming in from your clients through the support that I'm giving in a little amount of time that we should be connecting? So how do we do that? We're gonna cover those. So structural coaching. You see the blueprint right there? Well, that's basically what it is. What is it? It's going to be coaching to a plan. It's not going to be winging it on emotions. It's going to be a structure for each and every client. We're going to take them through step by step from point A to point B. We're going to hold their hand and just basically show them what you did. We're going to show them how you made it to fat burn, how you lost the weight, and how your life has been changing. We're going to show them that. And we're going to do it through structure. We're going to do it from easy steps. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We're going to go through that. That's what structural coaching is. So last week, the process, what they did, what they showed you, that's structure. Now let's put it onto paper. How do we go forward with that? We're going to show you those tools, systems. That's structural coaching. It's using the same tool. It's not using a random notebook or a random sheet of paper to place an order or go through an Explorer call with somebody. It's using our health assessment. It's not going to be writing it on a napkin, placing an order just for whatever we want to, because we're the health coach. We need to show the client how to do it. We need to walk them through it, and we need to have the tools and follow the systems that we know that have been taught to us from our mentorships. That's structural coaching. Because when life gets crazy, you start helping maybe 1, 2, then you start helping 30 clients. We need the structure, so we need the tools, we need the systems to follow, and that's structural coaching. It's going to help us check our emotions at the door, along with our ego. It's going to help us, even when we want it more than they do, it's going to help us with the next step, with the next step, with the next step, what we should be doing to help possibly spark that intrinsic motivation back into a struggling client. Or it's going to help us get that individual just bumped over the edge, or help them with little issues that they may be experiencing on the program. Structural coaching is going to do that because it should all be set up. We do this on day 1. We do this on day 2. 1 week we have, between days 6 and 10, we have these celebration calls, and then we check in every 2. So it's going to, if we follow it, it's going to help us with moving them forward, with uncovering certain issues or struggles they may have. And by also, if they're not having struggles or issues, it's going to help us move them to integrate even more into our community, to help start building a community around them, and they're going to start coaching people. So it's going to move them 1, 2, 3, 4, right down the line. That's what structural coaching is. Coaching to a plan, not winging it, following a blueprint. So why do we want to coach this way? Why not go on emotion? Why not, when the client's upset, we kind of just roll with the punches? Why not just continue on moving forward? When we want their why more than them, why not just go all in for it? Why are we going to follow these systems? First off, it's going to keep us organized. So coming on board as a new health coach, it can be very overwhelming. It can be very overwhelming. There's a lot of different things that you get from the company. There's a lot of different paperwork. There's a lot going on, and then you're trying to help somebody manage through the program. Structural coaching, by doing what your mentorship is telling you to do and just moving one step at a time, it's going to help keep you organized and know what your next steps are for each one of your clients. Know what the next conversation is with each one of your clients. And it's going to help us stay connected to their why. During an Explorer call, we should be covering their why. It says, what's your desired future outcome? What are you looking to achieve is some of the questions that we're asking them in this Explorer call. But some of our clients, as you may know, they're on the program for a decent amount of time. You may also have a lot of clients that are telling you their why. This is going to help us stay connected. Structural coaching and using the tools will help us stay connected to their why, so we can always refer back to it. That's going to help with some of the relationship building, and it's going to help with their intrinsic motivation, moving them forward. So it's going to help keep us connected to their why, to where we're not going to forget it, because it's going to be right there on paper, right in front of us, right at our fingertips. Anytime we go to pull up our binder, it should be right there. So keep us connected to their why. And it's going to help us from missing things that can hinder somebody's success. And I put on here, even when we don't feel like doing it. Okay. So structural coaching will help us with the discipline, and it'll help us with, like I had mentioned, the next step, because you're going to have some clients that are very, very excited, and then you're going to have some clients whose energy may not be there, but we don't want to miss anything. We don't want to miss the next step, because then we're hindering them from achieving their success and their goal. But we do want to make sure that we're covering everything. So structural coaching, that's going to help bring us back. And even on, I had mentioned, days when you don't feel like doing it, that discipline is going to bring us back. You're going to know what conversation we're going to have. And guess what? After I have those conversations, I don't know about you guys, but my energy level is always really good. I'm always pretty happy afterwards, because going back to the conversation I know I have to have, those are the reasons why I decided to become a health coach in the first place, was to help these individuals fill some of those things. So it's going to help bring that back in you. It's going to light their flame, light your flame. So that's structural coaching. That's why we do it. Keep us organized, keep us connected to their why, and it keeps us from missing things, so things don't fall through the crack, especially when lots of clients are coming in, or when you have clients that are ready to go, when you have clients that you have to pull from. But structural coaching. So let's talk about some of these support tools that we have. So the health assessment, that's one key tool that you should be using, and it should be part of your repertoire. If you don't have the new one, if you haven't ordered the new health coach business kit, I recommend doing it. It helps with organization. There's a lot of great tools in there, but you can also go online and you can get a PDF copy of this as well through Optavia Answers. You go through the business documents and the document library. It's right there for you. So the health assessment is a key tool. And make sure that you notice that there's a second page to it. We're going to cover that in a minute, but there's also a back page to it that's very helpful when we talk about structural coaching. Then the Habits of Health system, the different books, the Dr. A's Habits of Health and the Living a Longer, Healthier Life workbook. There's been many questions around, how do I use this and incorporate it into structural coaching? What do I even talk about? How do I refer them back to the book? So we're going to cover a little bit of that. And then we're going to go to good old-fashioned structural tension charts. They look something like this. We're going to pull one up, talk a little bit about how that works, and then we're going to start wrapping it up with some relationship building, how we do that, and then I'm going to give you free time to start asking some questions, okay? So the health assessment. I don't know about you guys, but I've been using this ever since I could get my hands on it, and I believe that it has helped with my conversations tenfold that I'm having with individuals. It keeps me very structured and balanced, and it sounds very easy and natural when you're using it. So, I mean, they put a lot of work into this tool. It's an elegant tool as well. I mean, if you look at it, I mean, it's pretty. So, I mean, if you don't know the information, if you don't have the Explorer cadence down, read through this a few times. Read through it a few times, maybe practice it in the mirror, but it's going to help start that client support off on the right foot right from the Explorer call, because you're going to go through and you're going to talk about where they currently are and what their desired future is. And then you're going to have the routines, habits all right there in front of you. But what I really like more so for client support is the second page of it. If you look right there for you, if you have one of these for each and every one of your clients in your binder, it's going to start and you're going to have a place to take notes, and you're going to be able to refer back to all your conversations that you're having with them. So if you look, the very first one that it has that we should be having is the journey kickoff call. That's the very first one. Right before they're going to start the program, we're going to explain to them what they should be doing, how their days should look. You're going to get their goals from them. Once again, they should be, you should already have it from the Explorer, but you're going to get it and you can put it down. Hey, what date was this? What was the weight they were starting at? And how did that conversation go? Take notes so you can refer back to it. That's going to help in the relationship building skill, and it's going to help with your listening. So listening to your client, it's going to just move you forward, okay? So that's the very first call that you see on there. And then you have the day 1 through 4 check-in calls that you should be having with your client that were mentioned last week by Sarah Grace and Jamil Frazier. They mentioned them. This is where we would put that information that we're having with them and little tidbits of information that they're talking about. So if they mention something about a family member, write it down in there. Write it down in the notes when they heard it. You keep going. It has the day 7 check-in, the week 2, and you go down all the way through the first month. If you're using that, refer back to it. Okay, there's gonna be a time where you're gonna ask them, has anybody in your world noticing? And they're gonna say, yeah, my husband noticed. After 20 years of marriage, he noticed. And you're gonna, wow, that's something important that you should write down. What do I write down? I write down 20 years of marriage. I write down a husband. Sorry, guys, that's my daughter. I guess the door closed doesn't mean anything. So write that piece of information down. Write down what it means to them. So their family is super important. Write down how many years of marriage, so you can refer back. It's all about referring back. It's all about keeping notes, keeping track, and moving forward in these conversations and deepening those relationships. So refer back to this page every week when you get on a call with them. So Habits of Health System, the books. I'm not going to lie. In the beginning of health coaching, some of these books weren't a must on my list to order for a client. And tell you the truth, my wife didn't even know we had them. She didn't even know about the workbook. It was kind of funny, but this is the tool that we keep very close to us now, very close to where we're working, and that we want to keep with us at all times, and walk them through different parts of the book. It's not something that they necessarily have to read cover to cover when they're reading Dr. A's Habits of Health, but a couple good chapters to start somebody off on. Chapter 3 and chapter 4 is going to go over choices. It's going to go over their why, and they're going to be able to get clarity in moving forward with the program. So lots of clarity can come from those 2 chapters, chapter 3 and chapter 4. Those are really, really good if they're trying to get clear on what their why is to starting the program. Maybe somebody's struggling. Chapter 6 and chapter 7 of Dr. A's Habits of Health, they're going to cover the program, kind of talks about the balancing of the blood sugars, getting them in the fat burn. It talks about that, and that's important because some people, they want to know more. They feel like they're going to be losing weight just because of a calorie cut. And that's not what we're shooting for. So we're going to touch on those 2 chapters. From the workbook, lesson 8 is a really good one to go over. It kind of explains similar things to chapter 6 and 7 of the book, but those are some good chapters. But also, you're going to fall back to these books and workbooks. Look through them, get familiar with them, because you're going to ask them, what is it that you want to work on this week? you know what, I want to work on my water intake. Okay, then refer them to the chapter on water and see what they want to get accomplished. You know, they want to go from 50 to 80 ounces that week. They want to go to, I mean, our goal is 100, but move them through that, okay? So move them through the chapters based on what they're looking for. Maybe some individuals, stress is something they want to work on. So look through the book, find the chapter that's on stress. Healthy movement, it's in there. That's how we're going to coach them through structurally, but some of it has to go from connecting where they're at in the call to then the book. So because we're going to call, we're going to check in every week with them, we're going to write down the notes, and then we can find the assignment that we can give back to them. So that's how we're going to use kind of the two in tandem. It depends where the conversations are leading once you're doing the check-ins with them, and kind of what some of the issues that some clients are having, maybe some of the struggles and how to get through them. So the Habits of Health system is very, very key in support. And now here's a good old-fashioned structural tension chart, okay? Down at the bottom, you're going to see somebody's current reality and their starting point. And then up at the top, you'll see how the arrow moves up and you see the structural tension pulling. That's because there's the disconnect in there between what their desired outcome is. Up at the top, you see where it says optimal health. That's their fundamental choice, is optimal health. And then their primary choices that they're choosing, because health is their choice. It can't be ours for them. It's their choice. You see their other primary objectives that they're looking to hit. So the BMI, the weight, and the time frame. Those are the specifics. So those are the primary choices. And then secondary choices. This is some of the activities of the day-to-day that's going to help them hit these goals. So this is huge for a client that may be struggling through the program, may have a disconnect with their why. I encourage you, bring them to this exercise, a structural tension chart. There's a lot of them in the books. There's lots of them in the Living a Longer, Healthier Life workbook, and refer them back to these books. So some of the secondary choices, they don't just have to be about the eating and the walking and the working out. It could be reading this chapter based on what they are looking to get accomplished, what they're looking to get better at. So bring them back here if you can. Structural tension charts, these good old-fashioned ones. You can draw it up on a piece of paper. It doesn't have to be a fancy one, but keep that with the health assessment so you kind of know the conversation that you covered with an individual. So if you need to, you can take a picture of just the example of what the structural tension chart is, but very easy to create. But we need to know where they're at and where they want to go, and then we could fill in the action steps to get them to where they want to go. So the structural tension chart. Now we get into relationship building through structural coaching. It's not a big secret, guys. It's a very organic process. So a lot of the relationship building should happen just based on our consistency on these calls and talking to somebody over and over. And you hear me say the word calls. There is daily support text that we send to them, but when we're checking in with them and when we're starting somebody up, we should be on the phone with them. We should be on the phone coaching them into a strong fat burn for at least the first 4 to 5 days. Then once, we should be celebrating them, possibly on a Zoom between days 6 and 10, because they should be on fire, because they should have this buzz going, because they should be in a successful fat burn, and they should be moving forward. After that, every maybe twice a week up until a month, we should be checking on it. And then it should just be once a week after that until they're hitting their goals. But if we're having these consistent touch points and we're taking notes, and when we're talking, we're expanding on different questions and answers that they give to us, and we're listening. Think about it. If we're listening to what they're saying and we're not pushing across our agenda, we're listening to what their goals are, what their why is. We should be organically building a relationship with this individual, just because that's what conversation and community, That's what we do. That's what you guys are all here for, is to help somebody. So I know you're going to love on them. So having these conversations, if we're referring back just so we don't forget what we spoke about before, it should naturally start happening, and these relationships should be forming, and they could form in as little as 5 minutes a day, just because we can ask them, oh, they give you a little clue. Oh, my mother made my lean green. Oh, really? Oh, tell me about your mom. That's all you have to ask, and boom, now they're letting you into their world. Or it could be when you're talking about their why, like, oh, I want to lose weight for my wedding. Oh, really? When are you getting married? You just have to ask one more question off of what they just told you, and naturally a relationship is going to start to form, and walls are going to start to come down. But we need to be consistent with it, and we can't have our ego there. Our ego is when we get scared to make that extra phone call. Through structural coaching, we know the phone call has to be made. We should be moving through it. We should go through and just check it at the door. Leave those fears behind, okay? Check the ego at the door. Come from a place of love. This is for them. It's not for us. We need to help them. It's not about us being scared. We're the health coach. We've been there before. We've lost the weight. We're just leading them, showing them the best way that we know how. So check the ego at the door and be consistent, and do the checkpoint calls if you're a new coach, do them with your mentor. They'll go ahead and they'll help you coach your first few clients. I had mentioned referrals. How do we get them? To be honest, think about your favorite restaurant, the reasons why you go there. It's because of the experience. So with the support, these referrals, they're going to come. They're naturally going to come. But I'm sure some of you want to hear, like, well, how do I work that into the conversation without being that guy that's asking for the referral? How do I do that? In our conversations, it's very simple. It's basically, hey, has anybody in your world noticed you? And they say, yeah, they have. And then it's like, well, how did it make you feel? Great. What did they say? And then they're going to tell you, oh, they thought I looked great. This can't be that easy that I'm doing it. They wish they could do the same thing. And then you just kind of lead forward. And you know what? I would love to be able to share this with people in your world and help build a community around you. If you think what we're doing can be a benefit to them, would you mind sharing it with them? And that way we can help build a community around you. That's just going to give them an extra layer of support. And that's basically what we say when we're talking to our clients, and that's going to ask them for a referral. Another way can simply be, I know you've tried a lot of different things, and this one is really working for you. What we do is a blessing, and I would love to be able to help others feel the same way that you're feeling. If there's anybody in your world that could benefit from this, would you mind sharing our information with them? That's it. That's all you have to say. So relationship building, they're going to come organically. The referrals are going to come through their support. We just need to be consistent, and we need to stay within the structure. The structure is going to provide the path of least resistance for us to be able to serve them the best that we can. So now there's just a couple minutes left. I know we started a few minutes after waiting for people, but I'm going to open it up for questions. I'm going to stop sharing my screen. And then that way, if you do have a question, we're just going to come off of mute. So give me 1 second. All right. So if anybody has a question, feel free to take yourself off of mute, and we'll go from there. Anybody? Anybody got one? All right. If no questions, guys, I really thank you for your time. We're at the 30-minute mark on the dot. We're gonna be here, same place, same bat channel next week, 5:30 after the Dr. A's leadership call that he leads. We're gonna be right here, and we're gonna continue to do this every week from here on out. So with that being said, guys, thank you very much for being on here. I hope it was of value to you guys, and we will see you guys next week.